This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. It's looking more like Christmas than it ever has this year. We're expecting one heck of a blizzard to hit us. My guest this hour is Peter Kling, and he was telling me in his part of the world they're expecting 2 feet of snow. And outside our studio windows, it's I can usually see one of the main thoroughfares here in Hamilton, but I can't see past 2 buildings. That's how hard the snow is coming down. So wherever you are, be safe, drive carefully, and take your time getting home tonight. As I said, my guest this hour is Peter Kling. We've had the pleasure of having on the show many times. The Kling family has a 500-year history of standing for the truth, starting with the Reformation of the Church. Following in his ancestor footsteps, Peter Kling began his education in the scriptures before the age of 5 and his education in the sciences by the age of 10. Peter first started seeing future events at the age of 9, had alien contact at the age of 18, has survived attempts on his life 16 times, X-Zone Nation. And, you know, I could go on and on and on about this very interesting man, but I won't, because I want him to come on the air and talk to us about 2 very interesting topics tonight. First of all, Peter, welcome to the X-Zone. I'm glad you're home.
Thank you very much, Rob.
All right, what are we going to be talking about tonight? All right, you say it, because I pronounced it wrong.
Well, we're going to start, actually what we're going to talk about is aliens. but where we're going to start is with World War I. Actually, we can start prior to World War I with the Vril Society. Mm-hmm. And there's this interesting connection that just, it may answer a lot of questions. If nobody has any knowledge of the Vril Society, I strongly suggest that you look it up, do as much research on it as you can, V-R-I-L, Vril.
Well, can you give us a little bit of a hint on what they're about?
Yeah, I was just gonna go there.
Psychic.
The Vril Society became popular before the turn of the 20th century. They started to gain momentum with people like Madame Blavatsky and other psychics that were in tune, basically, mm-hmm. and being used by the elite. But the Vril Society was a little bit different. They had a connection to child sacrifice. And after World War I, they became very powerful. Of course, there was lots of children around, a lot of orphan children around that nobody would miss. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the center points that they would thrill themselves with, is child sacrifice. But when we look at the Vril Society itself and where it started to gain momentum, there's a connection which goes right back to the Middle East and right back to Samaria, interesting enough. And Samaria, the Sumerian Empire, is where we get the cradle of civilization and the Anunnaki. So they don't in the research, they don't tell you they don't use the word Anunnaki because I guess that makes too much of a connection, but they take you right back to ancient Samaria, and we already know the history of ancient Samaria, and this is essentially I guess you would call it the second contact, or the second, if you want to call it, an invasion of Earth by extraterrestrial species. The first happened several hundred years before that. During the days of Noah, we had what is recorded as the Watchers in the book of Enoch, and they were the fathers of the Nephilim. There's a tie-in to this. It's the Nephilim tie-in, I guess, is what we want to really look at, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But they started researching, the Vril Society started researching all their connections right back to the Middle East, and then they joined up with the Toul Society, and both of these societies became very operative within the Nazi Party. Hitler himself really wasn't all that interested in any of the occult teachings of the Norse or of the Toul Society or of the Vril Society. He was more interested in carrying out world domination in the name of secretly by the Vatican. It was the Third Reich, the 3,000 years of rule. Who had the first two?
All right, Peter, we're going to have to
Roman Empire.
We're just going to have to take a little break here. Peter Kling is our special guest, Exaltation. And we've had the pleasure of having Peter on the show many times before. And if you'd like to contact Peter, what's your website again, Pete?
PeterKling.com. Very easy. PeterKling.com.
All right, buddy, stand by. Peter and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our snowy broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Nemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created nemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, Florida. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine such as hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining rooms can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you visit, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic downtown Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, Old Florida cuisine at its best.
If you're a seeker, don't miss the inspiring book Shamanic Awakening, Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Cochran's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers throughout the Americas. Sandy's initiations across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt, combined with her knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth, influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private readings, sacred international journeys, a meditative CD, and her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate your earth walk and create a deeper connection to yourself. Find this and more at her website, starwalkervisions.com.
www.peterkling.com is the website for my guest this hour, Peter Kling. We're talking about the Vril, Antarctica, and extraterrestrials this hour here in the X Zone. Peter, sorry I had to cut you off for that commercial break, but you know how it is in this business. Those breaks are hard. Yeah. So continue, my good friend.
The clock rules.
Exactly.
Well, when we start looking at this, and this is pre-World War II now that I'm speaking about, both the Vril and the Toul Society become very popular within the Nazi Party, and their whole purpose is contacting extraterrestrial or alien races to get advanced technology. Now, let's see, where have we heard this before? From just about every whistleblower that's had any comments that have come out of Area 51 or the secret space program that's going on in the United States, they all say pretty much the same thing, that there's aliens involved. Now, they don't get into the child sacrifice end, but aliens have been giving us advanced technologies. When we go back and start looking at when UFOs first start showing up, we get the story of Nazi Germany and the Bell and their fly trap where they were carrying out these experiments. But the fact of the matter is, and what we're actually learning, is that the Nazis had developed UFO aircraft prior to the war, oddly enough.
UFO aircraft?
Yeah, they developed their own flying saucers before the war even started. They had problems with the propulsion systems in them, but they could actually get them off the ground and in the air. They were used as observation decks, basically, during several of the engagements during World War II between the Nazis and other parties. Now, this is different than the Foo Fighters. Foo Fighters are, as a matter of fact, the Foo Fighters might actually be living entities. They might actually be ETs or aliens themselves. I heard a very interesting comment or story just a couple of days ago about a B-17 pilot whose plane was shot up pretty badly, and they didn't know whether they were going to make it back or not. And he said that they were surrounded by Foo Fighters. And then all of a sudden, the image of Jesus appeared between him and his co-pilot, and it put his hand on his hand and accelerated the aircraft, and they actually made it back to base. You know, interesting story to say the least. But getting back to where we the Nazi situation is, prior to the war, the Nazis sent out all sorts of archaeological teams all over the earth, especially to the Middle East, and then from there they go up into Tibet, and they're all looking for ancient technologies to link them to the Nordics. And then we find, well, aren't the Nordics another type of alien species? Yes, indeed they are. So there's this constant connection. Now,
how do we know the Norsemen were actually ETs?
Well, Nordics. Yeah, they're a race of ETs that claim to be there, blonde hair, blue-eyed ETs, very human-looking. And these were the ones that they believe, that the Nazi Party believed, ruled the planet.
Okay, now, just before we go any further, question about the Foo Fighters. How come we don't hear about Foo Fighters anymore if they're extraterrestrial living entities?
Well, you know, that because we classify them as UFOs. those white, the white spots that we see, they could very well be living entities. I'm not talking about anything that looks like a UFO, or you see these triangle-shaped UFOs or tubular-shaped UFOs.
Right.
Not those. These are white, or they look like white light orbs. And years ago, I saw a phenomenal video of these white light orbs flying around in a field. Was somewhere out west, Colorado, Utah, somewhere out in the western part of the United States. And these things, you could actually see that they were translucent close up, but you could see as they would move, all of a sudden energy, or they would light up toward whichever direction that they were going in. I wish that video was still around, but it was fantastic. And they all looked like oval, kind of like footballs almost flying through the field, except that they're more oval shaped. You're looking at them more from a profile view.
Could they have been ball lightning?
No. These were intelligent beings, and there were lots of them there. It wasn't like there was just they were photographing one or filming one, videotaping, I guess, one just flying around. There was several of them, and they were close enough that you could actually see through them to an extent, and they weren't all that big. Now, the energy life forms that we're dealing with here can adjust their size. If they have the capability of controlling that energy, it doesn't make any difference whether it's the size of a pin or the size of a Zeppelin, because just take a look at the atom itself. Our atomic structure, which makes up everything in our universe, is 1 part solid for 4 trillion parts of empty space. So you can condense all that empty space down to where there is no empty space within the atom, and it would still weigh the same. I believe they said that you could take the Washington Monument, shrink it down to the size of a pencil eraser, and it would still weigh the same amount just by removing the space that's in it. What's big and what's small, or size, really doesn't matter when we're talking about energy. It's how tightly, densely packed we have the energy. And if we are dealing with life forms that are shapeshifters, that are made of energy, they can adjust that energy in any shape that they want.
Well, let me ask you this then, Peter. If we were to take the Washington Monument and take all the space between the molecules or the atoms away, and it would be the size of a pencil eraser and still weigh the same, how do people who investigate the paranormal state the claim that energy does not lose its shape? This is what they claim a ghost to be. Now, that makes no sense, because nothing is constricting the form at that point.
You are 100% correct, except for the entity itself. I'll give you a personal experience that I had involving a blue energy orb. And I believe I have given this one on the show before.
Yeah.
I was bringing my son back from college. It was Friday evening. I just set my cruise control for 63 miles an hour. I know exactly how fast I was going. And within 15 seconds of setting the cruise control, this huge deer jumped out of the tree line. Couldn't see it running. It just jumped out of the tree line and made a leap. While it was intending on leaping over the road or over my car or something, but while it was in the air, a blue orb about the size of a grapefruit instantly appeared. It blew up like a balloon to about 3 feet and absorbed the impact of that deer hitting the windshield of my car.
So the orb, in essence, became an airbag.
Yeah. An external airbag.
Right.
And that, as bizarre as that might seem, I know what I saw. I literally, the car was still drivable.
Right.
The windshield was a little shattered, a lot shattered, but it didn't come through. When I got to a safe place, I was waiting actually for my son. I called my son. I said, "Hey, meet me here, and we're going to take the car over to the body shop. Might as well, I could still drive it." I sat there for at least 45 minutes waiting for him to show up and going over and over and over again in my mind and what I had seen. I never saw anything like that before. Heard about blue orbs, heard about orbs different colors, but never saw them. So instantly, and it was all over in a second, Rob. It was, less than a second. It appeared, it expanded, the deer disappeared, and the deer got up and pranced off like it was proud, as my son would tell you. He went back to check on the deer. I was like, I didn't know whether to go back and run and check on the deer or check on, I was looking at the car. I was what did I just see happen?
But how can your son, how can your son tell me about the deer if he wasn't in the car with you?
No, he was. He saw her too, and he ran back to go check on the deer. And I was like in total disbelief of everything that I had just seen happen.
Okay.
And he said, well, as he approached the deer, it was all, jumbled up on the side of the road, and all of a sudden it just jumped up and pranced off like it was proud, he said.
So it was laying on the side of the road stunned, and when it came to, away you went.
Yeah, absolutely. And that deer just got hit at 60 miles an hour.
So that's what happened to the year that Rudolph wasn't on the sleigh.
Well, I don't know if it was Rudolph, but I'll tell you what, that was certainly an experience. And now I have had encounters with other extraterrestrials. I had my extraterrestrial contact when I was 18, but they were very human looking. Also, there was no spaceship involved. We were taken underground, or they took me underground. So I can't tell you where it was underground. It felt like I was in the bowels of a castle. That's all I can tell you, but I know it was underground. No spaceship involved ever. So when we go back to these orbs, I wish I could remember which whistleblower said it. Just about 2-3 weeks ago, I had heard another whistleblower talking about UFOs, and he had made the statement that when we see something that has seams or straight edge lines, but he used the term seams, if it's got a seam to it, we made it. It was made on Earth. He said the light orbs that you see, especially like when you see a mothership and it's like all these little light orbs start coming out, he said those are actually living beings.
Okay, now how this whistleblower, how can they come out and they never bring any evidence with them?
Rob, how much evidence? I've had firsthand contact several times, but what evidence do I have? The only evidence I have is a picture of a car with a smashed up window.
I know. So how can we believe these so-called whistleblowers in the ultimate times of fake news?
Well, let's go back and take a look at this whole situation with World War II. We have these stories of UFOs. I watched a video of the actual Nazi bell chained up inside the fly trap, and they were trying to control it. This may have been the same object that landed in Kecksburg. The Nazis had several different teams of people working on what we would consider UFOs.
Well, let's face it.
They just had one central NASA. They had a bunch of different teams.
Well, let's face it, Peter. If it wasn't for the Germans and the Nazis, the Americans would have never got to the moon.
Well, you just picked up where eventually I'm going to head here. Before the war, the Nazis send out an expedition to Antarctica. After the war, they send out an expedition to Antarctica, and it comes back that the first expedition came back and they said we found Valhalla. It was a paradise there under the ice. Now, you can believe that or you don't have to believe it. It doesn't make any difference to me. But that's what's reported. You can do the research and find out the paperwork yourself. However, after the war, we have a very interesting thing happen. We get Admiral Byrd's trip to Antarctica, and he doesn't tell you what the trip's all about, but he says it's military in nature, and it's alleged that they got their butts kicked by flying saucers. Now, let's go back to, again, just after the war. And you brought up Wernher von Braun here. Yeah. And Wernher von Braun it's alleged that he was brought over with about 3,000 scientists, and they basically headed up the space program.
Right.
What is not told is that about another 47,000 people were brought over, including people from the Gestapo and the SS, Secret Service, the people that guard the president. They were brought over, but other top scientists in different areas were brought over, and possibly even Joseph Mengele was brought to the United States to carry on his genetic experiments.
I thought he was in Brazil.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, the FBI, I read the document itself. It was in 1947, the FBI put Hitler in Argentina. So Hitler didn't die either outside his bunker. He never committed suicide. He lived to die of, quote, natural causes, I guess, for old age.
But on the other hand, there has never been any documentation found to substantiate the claim that Hitler was actually in Argentina.
Correct. Except for this one piece of information that is actually a report by the American FBI, where they place him there. So the FBI said he was there.
And what was the FBI doing outside of the United States where they had no jurisdiction?
Good question. that this is post-war. It's like anything goes back then, I guess. Now we've got rules and regulations for this whole thing. But let's go back and take a look at this, what happens.
Okay.
After the war, some pilot reports seeing, and this is where flying saucers.
Hey, you and I have got to take a break, my friend. Please stand by.
Okay, we'll pick it up.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Exxon Nation, my guest is the one and only Peter Kling. www.peterkling.com. We'll both be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the four corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Peter Kling is my guest this hour, www.peterkling.com. Let me see. Let's do a little bit of a recap. The Foo Fighters could be extraterrestrial living entities. The Nordics were extraterrestrials. Of course, we all know about the group of Nazi scientists that were brought over to the United States, and if it wasn't for them, there'd be no American on the moon. Let me see. 47,000 other Germans were brought over to the United States. Hitler was found, or the FBI in 1947, was it, Peter?
I believe that's the date that I recall, 47 or 48.
47
right
or 40.
after the war. They found him in Argentina, or claimed that that's where he was.
Yeah. If they found him, why wasn't he brought back as under war crimes?
Come on, Rob.
What?
Who financed World War II?
I don't know who.
Prescott Bush and George Herbert Walker. They're two biggest financiers of World War II. Henry Ford's motor plant over in Germany never got bombed. It produced motor vehicles for the Nazi regime throughout the whole war. Millions, hundreds of millions of dollars went from the United States over to England, and then from England it was funneled into Nazi Germany. These people supported that they made a major investment in Hitler and in the Nazi Party, and now they wanted their investment back. Come on, everybody looks at ROI, return on investment.
All right.
Who comes into power after World War II? Prescott Bush was actually charged with for treason under the lending aid to the enemy act. He had all his assets seized. This happened in 1941. He had all his assets seized because he was funneling money to Hitler. Now, how does he go from being a treasonous person to becoming a U.S. senator and having a son that becomes head of the director of the CIA and then president, and has a grandson who's an idiot that becomes president?
I guess we can say the same way that Joseph Kennedy did.
Yeah, all backdoor deals. All backdoor deals
so
with the power brokers that are running the planet.
All right, so if everything is power brokers, we're bringing in the Illuminati, we're bringing in the New World Order at this point. Where does Donald Trump fit in? Because he doesn't seem to be the...
You know, that's the proverbial stick in the globalist bicycle spokes. But that's another subject. Let's drop back, because this is going to get interesting.
Okay.
You're going to like where we're going to go here.
All righty.
So all of a sudden we have UFOs showing up in the United States and in Argentina, both after World War after World War II. It was a private pilot, flying his personal plane, that claimed to see these shiny disc-like or saucer-like craft.
And we're talking about Kenneth Arnold here.
Yeah. I couldn't remember his name, but yeah. So that was the first report. Then we get a report out of with UFOs in Argentina. Then we get the Roswell incident, and where are these UFOs coming from? The secret space program that was brought over with those other 50,000 scientists and secret agents and.
But if it was the secret war program, how come it took so long to get the American space program off the ground? How come Russia beat the United States in every category except landing on the moon?
Because, the Russians also grabbed as many scientists as they could out of Germany. However, the top scientists may have gone to either Argentina or Antarctica.
But Argentina has never had a space launch?
Nope, they've never had one at all.
And recently,
space launch is to the secrets, or I should say NASA and space launches are to the secret space program what the Macy's 4th of July fireworks display is to the business of Macy's. It's something for the people to look at and say, "Oh wow, what fantastic technology." Meanwhile, the real business is going on behind closed doors. So now we get an interesting agency that comes up that is now investigating UFOs. They write this book. Project Blue Book? And they go around to all the people that see UFOs, and they say,
the agency
"No, you didn't see UFOs.
But wait a minute, Peter.
Off a swamp gas."
Peter. The Project Blue Book was done by the United States Air Force, not an agency that was just made up.
Yes, but you've got the Men in Black. Where do the Men in Black come from? And then these guys are always showing up after, even with the Kecksburg incident, where this thing falls out of the sky, and they thought, well, maybe it was a Russian. They tried to pass it off as a Russian satellite that failed. But eyewitnesses said it had hieroglyphic writing on the side of it.
But nobody got close enough. The entire area was quadrant off to the media and to the public.
There were a couple of interviews that I had seen with local people who got there before anybody else did.
But how do we know these? How do we know these aren't people who are looking for their 5 minutes of fame and they'll do anything to get on camera? You know how
you raise a good point. And here's the thing: any one story by itself means nothing. It means nothing. But all of a sudden, when we start putting everything together, we see who's seeing the secret space program, claiming they're seeing UFOs, and now they're being told, "Oh no, you didn't," by these guys that show up, and what you saw was something else, and people are sworn to secrecy. People inside the military can't talk about certain things because they took secrecy oaths. Right. You start stacking all this stuff together, and now you have a mosaic. It's no longer just one little tile here, one little tile there. You've got the whole puzzle put together, and you can start to see a beautiful picture.
It's either that or you're putting the pieces in the wrong order.
Well, but wait a second. Let's look at the evidence. When do we start seeing UFO aircraft?
Actually,
first time is in Germany.
Actually, no. The great airship, what's it called? The great airship. Oh my gosh.
Zeppelin?
No. In the 1800s, or in the United States, throughout the southwestern United States. Flap, the great airship Flap of the 1800s. People were reporting airships, strange airships. You've got in paintings that the masters did, the great masters, going back hundreds of years, strange anomalies in the sky.
Oh yeah, we can go back throughout history.
So how do we kind of give the Germans credit for all this when this was throughout history?
Well, because our technology didn't advance enough to where we could do it ourselves. Once upon a time, we didn't know what genetic engineering was.
Once upon a time, Peter, we didn't know that there was a North America if we lived in Europe, too.
Yeah, we could go back. We had a lot of limited technology. However, let's face it, it's alleged that they're finding these secret weapons in these ancient tombs. I love the story of the Sphinx.
What word did you just use when you started that sentence? It's alleged.
Alleged, yes.
So how can we take anything that is not proven to be a fact and give it any credibility? That has never made sense to me.
Okay, let's take string theory. We can't prove string theory, but the mathematics works out in several different ways.
Yes,
not only to go to string theory, M theory, and superstring theory.
Yes, the mathematics that we know today.
Yes.
All right? But what happens, everybody looks at Einstein as being this great person whose mathematical equations have solved a lot of the problems of the universe. What happens if he's wrong?
Well, you see, that's when our technology gets to the point, then we'll be able to prove whether, yes, it's true or no, it's not true.
See, I look at things and I say, well, okay, fine, you're taking it based on this, but what about the frigging facts? Like that old Wendy's commercial, where's the beef? Where's the flying saucer? Where's the dead alien? Where's the dead Sasquatch?
That's always been, Rob, I have turned around and raised the same objections. I have made the statement that we could take all of the alien data that we have, all of the physical evidence, and we could put it in a shoebox and lose it.
What physical evidence? What physical evidence? There is none.
Yeah, it's not there, exactly.
And when you look,
you take it all, put it in a shoebox, and lose it.
Yeah, and you look at Roswell, once again, everybody looks at Roswell as the mecca of ufology. I can give you one example to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the entire Roswell thing was nothing else but a bunch of bunk. It's very simple, and people go over this fact each and every time. In fact, I told Stanton Friedman about it, and he said, well, here's the fact. Jesse Marcel, a base intelligence officer, goes to the Brazil farm, picks up what he believes, he doesn't know what the hell it is, according to his report. But what he does is he takes this evidence, and instead of bringing it back to the base and maintaining the chain of custody and the chain of evidential proof, what does the idiot do? He takes it to home and lets his kid play with it. That right there ends the Roswell case. I'm sorry.
Rob, I'm not going to disagree with you. Honestly, I'm not.
So why does everybody look at Roswell as being this great case, this great mystery, this great conspiracy? The conspiracy and the cover-up is maintaining the credibility of Jesse Marcel Sr.'s ass. That's all the credit. That's all that happens there because he broke military protocol.
Now let me ask a question.
Sure.
If we had a secret space program, we see too many pictures, too much video footage now, which can't be explained. I'll give you a great one. That there's several different shots of this. The orb that appears over the Dome of the Rock in Israel at the Temple Mount. I believe it was right on Christmas Day or a few years ago. You can see the videos that are out there of it. I think they've got 3 different directions. Tourists taking videos of the Dome of the Rock at night, and then all of a sudden this orb shows up, and then zings up into space, and there's other orbs above with it. Was it a UFO? I seriously doubt it. It would have to be a real small one-man craft.
Well,
a living object, a living
anything
entity,
that cannot be identified is a UFO, unidentified flying object.
Yes, but could it have been an actual, literal, living ET, an energy orb, a shape-shifting energy orb? Absolutely, it could have been.
Okay, question for you here. Dome of the Rock, Christmas time, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, both on the Christian side and on the Muslim side. Only 3 photos?
I believe there's actually 4 videotapes of it.
Only 4?
4 different directions.
That doesn't make sense.
I'm just reporting what's out there, Rob. And you question it, but you have to look at it. Okay, is this Photoshop? Yeah. I've seen too many things. I've had too many unexplained happenings in my own life for me to say, oh, no.
Yeah, but you see, Peter, you tell me you've had the experience. You've had the experience. This isn't second, third, fourth-hand evidence or hearsay. This is you who had the encounter, relaying the story.
And so yes, now I can give my experience from the first person, but anybody that turns around and quotes me, it's all hearsay. Everything that I say is hearsay. The only thing that I can produce are the pictures of my car.
Yeah,
and that doesn't prove that there was a blue orb involved. It just proves that there's this round indentation in the windshield with the deer that literally went across the whole length of the car. He pissed down the driver's side and his antlers bent the rain gutter on the passenger's side.
That'll do it.
The windshield's got this round depression in it, just right in the center, right where the orb was. So that's all I got. Yeah. That's all I've got. And if you want to see those pictures, you can actually go to my Facebook page, and those pictures are right there. It's a gray Mitsubishi Galant. I love that car.
All right, stand by, Peter. We've got to take a break. Exonation. Peter Kling is our guest. www.peterkling.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, Exonation, if you'd like to listen to all the programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Find your favorite host, find your favorite show, find out when it's going to be on, and all you have to do is go to www.xzbn.net. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? I'm Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and on The Secret to Everything, we will merge the practical with open investigation into all realms of the mysterious. We will talk to cutting-edge alternative health practitioners, those who inspire and motivate you in business and life, and of course, we will share stories of the paranormal, conspiracy, and cryptozoology. You will transform because of the frequency I carry, the frequencies my guests carry. Life may never be the same after you listen to this program, for the secret to everything is for you, the listener, for those who desire more in every area of their lives and believe that it can still be found. Listen and discover thesecrettoeverything.com.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. If you'd like to visit the X Zone Broadcast Network, there's a very interesting conversation that our good friend Kevin Randall, who hosts the A Different Perspective, had with Bud Hopkins' significant other. And during the interview, she blows the whistle on hypnosis and the UFO community. Go visit Kevin's website, or go to xzbn.net, click on Kevin Randall, and that show will be there along with the other shows that Kevin has done with, let me see, Colonel Charles Halt, Glenn Kimball, and the list goes on and on and on. That's A Different Perspective with Kevin Randall on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Peter Kling is my guest, www.peterkling.com. And Peter, we were talking about the hidden space or the secret space program.
Yeah, you know, when I look at Roswell, if there was a secret space program and they didn't get whatever they were launching too far and it did crash, the last thing you would want that to do is get out in the public. Now, I'm not saying it involved aliens. I'm talking about Area 51 stuff. And you know, we have all these sightings of UFOs or flying saucers after the war, and it increases through the 50s. It gets the late 50s, they do Project Blue Book, where they, you know, say, oh, well, there's no such thing, you know, we can't identify it. Yet, oddly enough, NORAD, which is only one of 2 government agencies that are above the Freedom of Information Act, covers all alien experiences or interaction, I guess you could say. Anything that's UFO or alien that gets reported, both in Canada and the United States, goes to NORAD. And NORAD doesn't have to say a thing.
Not anymore in Canada.
Did Canada change that?
Canada changed it, and in fact, it is no longer deemed a government priority or a police priority. All UFO reportings go to Chris Rutowski of the University of Manitoba.
Interesting. They're going to an academic.
They're going to a private citizen because the government no longer feels it necessary to take any notice or credence in any reports.
Well, that maybe I should talk about. We may wind up getting disclosure before too long. We're going to have to see what happens. But, we've got too many sightings, too many videos, too many reports, too many strange things. I mean, we can get into cattle mutilation and weird things like that. And it all points back to something that I said years ago. And that is very possibly that they are manufacturing, genetically engineering an alien cloned alien army. We have the technology. We certainly have the technology. And here's the wild thing, Rob.
Okay.
I can invalidate all of Christendom with one sentence. With one sentence, I can invalidate every Christian belief on the face of the planet. And it goes right back to Genesis, the second chapter, the 21st through the 23rd verses, which is essentially nothing more than a record of genetic engineering. And that one sentence is, who were the genetic engineers?
Now, what does it say in the Bible, though?
It says, God said that it's not good for man to be alone. I'm going to create a helper for him. Now, pay attention to this part. So he causes a sleep to come over the man. He opens up the flesh. He removes a rib, a tissue sample, and he proceeds to build a woman from it. That is a record of genetic engineering. And then what does Adam say?
Hi,
it's
Bruce.
quoted as, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh.
Yeah.
This one was taken from man. He knew she was cloned. I shall call her woman. So now remember, yes, we were genetically engineered. All of life on Earth was genetically engineered. We can go back to the just look at the fossil record. All of a sudden, life just explodes on this planet to a level that has never been at the Cambrian period. There's never been such diverse life on planet Earth as there was during the Cambrian period.
Or is it possible that the links have not been found yet? Because we know that archaeology lies. We know that science lies.
Yes.
We know that history lies. Like, my God, Peter, they're still teaching in the school Christopher Columbus discovered the Americas. How stupid do they think people are?
Zaharia Hawass. That man is the biggest fraud on the planet when it comes to Egyptology.
Yep. Yes, he is.
Come on.
But
Dr. Robert Schoch said, hey, the Sphinx is from 7 to 15,000 years old, and we know because it's got water erosion on it. And then he carries out ground penetrating radar, and he says, oh, guess what? There's a chamber under the pore of the Sphinx, and there's something in it. And then Dr. Zaharia Hawass, as they're pumping water out from under the Sphinx, says, oh, we're down 15 meters. There's no chambers. There's no nothing. We're in rock. We're just pumping the water out because it seeped in from the Nile River, and it's the ground is settling.
Yeah, but he was also good for...
Schoch said they had to go down 25 meters. And then they hold a Red Bull event in front of the Sphinx that takes them 6 months to put up while they're doing the excavation. And when they finally turn around and admit to finding the tomb of Osiris under the Sphinx, Hawass says, oh, it was empty. Grave robbers must have gotten to it.
Yeah,
Wait a minute. They had to pump all the water out of it. How are grave robbers going to get in
But
there?
look how much publicity that guy got for Egypt, how much tourism, and how many dollars he was able to bring to Egypt. Man, he was a Donald Trump of the Egyptian tourist trade.
Yeah, and he never told the truth about anything. You go back to ancient Egypt, Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt.
Yep.
Lower Egypt was made up mostly of the Hebrews.
Yeah, but you see, Peter, this is what I'm saying. Within the paranormal UFO community, there is so much bullcrap. People do not tell the truth. They tell the listeners what the listener wants to hear.
That's why we need to do the research. That's why we need to go back and start to string this together.
Exactly. I agree with you, my friend.
Once we string it together, then we can see where it's going.
But you know what? Sensationalism sells. How many authors are there out there who go on the internet, collect information, put it in a book, and sell that book, and then go on speaking tours, speaking engagements? My God, what would Stanton Friedman be doing without UFOs?
Exactly. Now, here's the difference between Letters to Earth, The Future is Yours, which is the book that I wrote.
Yes.
The research for that book started in 1980, long before the internet. Back when you had to actually go to libraries and read books. And trust me, once upon a time I had a very nice library, mostly reference books. Divorces have taken that away from me. But I still have a lot of my good reference books, but whatever.
It's cheaper to stay married, Peter.
Rob, I look at my life in a very peculiar way. I have no regrets over any of my past, and I've got a most bizarre life, and I say I've lost everything literally 3 times.
Wow.
I was on the verge of becoming a multi-millionaire, and literally that was the last time. I had put together a contract in Ukraine. We had projections put out. Everything was falling right into place. In 18 months, actually 9 months, we would have broken $1 million.
Wow.
In 18 months, we would have been over $2 million in projected sales for what we were doing, and that's based on numbers that the experts were giving me. The issue was I got sick and was dying, and I needed to come up with $70,000 to do an infomercial. My health took precedent, but anyway.
Wait a second. You're going to make billions of dollars and nobody would front you $70,000?
It was 2008, October.
Oh.
Yeah. I was literally losing a pound a day.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and I was only that was after being treated for a stomach issue that they couldn't figure out. It took another 4 months for them to figure out what the heck it was. I literally went through 4 months of testing from hospital to hospital.
So that song "Blowing in the Wind" would have been you being blown from one part to the next part.
I'm 6 foot tall and I weighed 114 pounds. If there was a tattoo on my arm, you'd swear I was an Auschwitz victim.
That's awful.
Yeah, that's how bad it got. But I literally lost everything. The only thing that I had left, I mean, come on, with the medical costs, 4 months of testing, and then needing a major operation to correct the situation.
That's awful.
Yeah, the only thing I was left with was the idea of, the first trip to Ukraine during the Orange Revolution. I was told to write letters to her. I was told to write a book. So with what you need, you need to write a book. So I did. Letters to Earth, The Future is Yours. And it goes through all of this. And I'll tell you, I got death threats for writing this thing.
From
Literally
who?
Death threats. I was warned. Watch your back. They're going to come after you.
For what?
Because read the book. I got too close to the truth, as I've been told. I had somebody a couple of years ago say that there was a hit on me. This was somebody that worked for both people who warned me. The first one and this last one said that they both worked for the intelligence agencies in the United States, the ABC companies. And the last one, he was a little bit screwy, but he said, "Hey, they had a hit out on you, and I got it stopped." Whether he was telling me the truth or not, it's like, go ahead, let them try. They tried to kill me 16 times. They haven't been successful yet. The one time they were, I got sent back. So, I look at my own life, and I've got no regrets over anything that's ever happened, because if those things didn't happen, I wouldn't be here with you today giving this information, or any other time providing this information to our listeners. And it's all in Letters to Earth, where we came from, how we got here, why things are as screwed up as they are, and what our future is. I'll go back to what Warner von Braun said. The last card that they're going to play is the alien card. They've already done World War. They've already done communism. They already globalized the world to an extent. Now, you brought up Donald Trump. He's the stick in those globalist bicycle
Well, we'll have to talk about that the next time you're with us, Pete, because we've run out of time. Take care of yourself, my good friend.
Read Letters to Earth and watch Antarctica.
Okay, that's next time here on the X Zone.
Yep.
Peter Kling, www.peterkling.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Don't go away.